This episode is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the #1 seller of games and gaming accessories. And GatheringMagic.com, the #1 resource for Magic the Gathering news and articles.
Hello everybody, I'm Mike from the Mana Pool. I'm still wearing the same dorky shirt, and this is my Fumiko the Lowblood Commander deck. Alright, so Fumiko the Lowblood. So, this was my second commander deck that I ever built. My first one was Sign of the Arid Dragon, because he's awesome. But unfortunately, several of my early experiences with the commander format turned into games that's just long, drawn-out games where everyone sits around staring at each other and nobody wants to move for fear of having someone else move against them, and it just got on my nerves. So I saw Fumiko, sitting by her lonesome in my binder. She's been in and out of a lot of my decks several times over the years, but I decided, maybe I could use her to kind of force people to get into the game, play, attack the creatures, even if they don't want to, and it'll just make things a lot more interesting. All right. So, Valakut is the first card in the list of the mana base because it'll explain some of the other cards that show up next. I'm playing mono red, so I have a lot of mountains, so I might as well have Valakut. But so I can control how and when Valakut goes off. That's why I'm also playing a bunch of fetch lands. Like the only one I'm really missing is these are upside down. Is the red-green one from Onslaught. But I'm going to get one of those eventually. But yeah, so these help me control when Valakut goes off, so I'm not just throwing bolts at any time. I can kind of decide when. And one more, and some Mirage, and some Great, and some Why am I showing these one at a time? Thawing Glaciers, ultimate fetch land. Alright, got some randomly useful lands in here too. Quicksand is randomly useful, kill an attacking creature. I mean, Fumiko is making everyone attack. There might be someone I want to go ahead and get dead. Shinka gives legendary creature first strike. That's always useful. Contested War Zone, great for attacking. I don't mind if it gets passed around a bit, if it encourages people to use it while they're attacking other people. That's fine, that's cool. Sandstone Needle is a quick jump in mana, always useful. Temple of the False God, because why not? Shivan Gorge is nice, just for a steady source of damage to everybody. Every little bit helps. Gotta go from 40 to 0. Dust Bowl, sometimes you just need to kill some annoying lands. Likewise for Tectonic Edge and Wasteland and Strip Mine. Everyone knows what those do. I don't have to explain it to you. Like I said, plenty of mountains to go with Valakut and to get fetched by fetch lands. That's what fetch lands do. Otherwise they'd be called something else. Okay. Other mana stuff. Soul Ring is of course the standard go-to card for Commander. Well, Mana Vault. Mana Vault is in all my Commander decks. I just like Mana Vault. Likewise for Grim Monolith, it's also very good. Heart of Ramos can make red and also can give you a little jump when you sacrifice it. That's always useful. Foriysian Totem is mana, and then when I have a bunch of extra mana lying around, I have a giant. Giants are always useful. Worn Power Stone. I love Worn Power Stone. Worn Power Stone is great. Palladium Myr is the creature version of Worn Power Stone. And Thran Dynamo makes a bunch of mana. The reason I have all this is because, one, there's several expensive cards in the deck, and two, Fumiko is probably going to die a lot, and I just like having her around, so she starts to get really expensive later in the game. Like, really. Maze of Ith. I didn't put this with the lands because it doesn't really do land stuff. Now we're into the randomly useful card category, and Maze of Ith is one of those randomly useful cards. Especially when a bunch of creatures are attacking all over the place. There used to be a much larger defensive component in this deck, but it made the deck dumb and horrible, so I took it out. Because I actually wanted to do stuff. I built this deck to punish people for not wanting to do stuff, and I was doing that very thing I hate the most, and that was just unacceptable. Alright. Reckless Charge is really awesome for making a creature even more aggressive, and it can be used twice, which is always nice in a singleton format. Lightning Greaves is a commander card, so it's in a commander deck. Sword of Vengeance is also really hot for making someone, haste, first strike, all that crazy stuff. Loxodon Warhammer, also a wonderful commander card for the trample giving and the lifelink giving and everything. Since I'm playing a monocolored deck, Strata Scythe can make a creature pretty big. And even though I have a fair number of non-basic lands, again, many of those are fetch lands, so they turn into mountains anyway. So lots of mountains, lots of big with Strata Scythe. Thunderstaff was one of those first cards in the very strong defensive theme the deck used to have, but I kept it in here because it also has a really good offensive aspect to it with that activated ability. It's pretty hot. I like it. Let's see. We all need ways to draw and tutor for various cards in these big 100-card decks. Expedition Map is going to be getting Valakut. It's a second copy of Valakut. Might as well have one. If I already have a Valakut, then maybe I'll get a Shivan Gorge or Shinka or something, depending on what I need. Quite useful. Journeyer's Kite is another way to pull up mountains and just keep myself going. This is my commander deck with... okay, my Scion deck has the most land in it. This one has the second most, and I'm still always getting mana screwed. So, Journeyer's Kite helps. There's also a ton of artifacts in this deck, comparatively. So Serum Tank is never going to run out of counters. So it ends up being a really cheap Jayemdae Tome. There's 3 to play, 3 to tap. Very useful. And it counts everybody's artifact. I mean, people are going to be playing artifacts in Commander, right? Right. Everybody can agree on that. Phyrexian Grimoire is another fun, cheap way to draw some cards. I'm not going to really count it as recursion since I don't get to choose what it is. I mean, I don't really care. I'm assuming that since I bothered to play the cards that are in my graveyard in the first place, that I would like to have them again. So, yeah, whatever I get is fine. I mentioned Serum Tank being a cheap Jayemdae Tome. This is a regular cost Jayemdae Tome because it's Jayemdae Tome. Red just doesn't get a lot of access to card draw, so you do what you can. Hoarding Dragon is in here with the card draw and tutors because that's what he does. Some people tell me, oh, they're just going to bounce it or something, and then you won't get the awesome artifact you picked out. It's like, well, yeah, that's why you got to learn how to play around it. I never get something that's absolutely crucial, and I'll be devastated if I don't get. I'll get something, tutor up something that would be pretty cool to have that I won't be heartbroken to miss out on if he doesn't die in a way that gives me the card. All right, point removal. There's always stuff out there that we hate, and when we hate it, we gotta destroy it. Aftershock can break open a lot of different things, and 3 damage is nothing in Commander. Dealing 3 damage to yourself, that's nothing. 4 mana, kill some stuff, great. I'll do it. Predator Flagship is some expensive point removal, but it's also a really good evasion. Just 2 mana to give someone flying. That's pretty awesome. Fissure is instant red removal. I love Fissure. Had this forever. It's great. Lava Flow is the sorcery version of Fissure. It's always good to try to double up on important effects whenever you can in Commander. That's what this right here is doing. I wonder if those slapping the cards down are really loud on the video. Duplicate, another good point removal, can get big. Maybe he'll be small, but at least that means I'm getting rid of something really, really annoying that's also small. Hoard-Smelter Dragon can tear up artifacts, and he also gets big for doing so that's cool. I like that. I'm counting Stone Idol Trap as point removal because there are not many things that can survive in combat to a 6/12 blocker. So, and then he gets to attack the next turn. Woo! Alright, mass removal. Comet Storm kind of bridges the gap. It can hit one thing, it can hit multiple things, it can hit whatever. Still not sure about how well it's working out in this deck. It's very possible that I might end up replacing this with Blasphemous Act at some point. But until that point, it's still very cool. Starstorm is a classic red mass removal card. Gotta love that. red just cannot blow up enchantments at all anyway, so I got to go with stuff like Oblivion Stone to give me that ability. Even though wiping the board is another one of those things that slows the game down, and that this deck would prefer not to happen, sometimes it's just absolutely necessary. Likewise with Nevinyrral's Discs. Sometimes you just got to do it. Steel Hellkite shows up in a lot of my commander decks because he's just a really useful removal guy and a big old flyer. With Clockwork Dragon, no, not Clockwork Dragon, Dragon Engine, yes, the Dragon Engine fire breathing. Gotta love that. Slice and Dice is awesome in the late game and the early game. In the early game, you cycle it, kill a bunch of stuff, draw a card, amazing. And in the late game, 4 damage is a lot. 4 damage is really useful. I really love Disaster Radius. Like I said, there's a fair number of expensive things in this deck. So if I'm holding on to a creature that costs 6 or 7, I mean, suddenly someone's day is absolutely ruined with a well-placed Disaster Radius. It's just all around awesome. Balefire Dragon, I'm also counting with the mass removal because he's going to blow up all the guys that belong to the person you just hit with him. He's really cool. Alright, another little sub-theme of the Fumiko deck is just kind of messing with people. And these are some of the cards that they're really up there just to mess with people. Stranglehold, just to mess with people. Keep things from getting too crazy on the other side of the board. Grand Melee is a bonus. Everyone has to attack effect. And it also forces everyone to block if they're able. So everyone has to get involved in combat somehow. Kazul is another way just to mess with people, especially if there's an active Fumiko out. Then either people are going to go in other directions, or if there's only one opponent left and they can only attack me, I'm probably going to get some ogres, which is always useful. And Avatar of Slaughter is a very recent addition to the deck. I just totally forgot that he was in one of the pre-cons. I dug him out the other day. Again, another everybody has to attack, and then the double strike, the game is going to end. Like, maybe not now, but maybe in 15 seconds. It's going to end. Insurrection is pretty much the ultimate mess with people red commander card. Take all the creatures. Hopefully get rid of some opponents. Yeah, everyone knows what Insurrection does. Okay, now finally to the creatures. I have a few smaller aggressive things. Actually, just a few. Not very many at all. But Slith Firewalker is a really great way to open up the game when there's not a lot of stuff going on. And it doesn't take him very long at all to get big. Start running around and really terrorizing people. Tuk Tuk the Explorer is also a fun, cheap little aggressive card. And he'll just keep pinging away at people until they finally get tired of him. But then I have the 5/5 artifact token with... Does he have trample? Let's read this card. No, he doesn't have trample, but still. Wow. Also very good against mass removal type effects. See, Battle Rampart is the only wall left in here, and that's because it can give other creatures haste. And that's great, because there's some pretty serious creatures in here that like to attack, like to hit people. It's just awesome. Phyrexian Processor is a card that I really like to use when I can in Commander, because starting at 40, it's not a big deal to dump 20 life into this just because, and then just go crazy making tokens over and over. It's really funny. I love it. The Lord of Shatterskull Pass is cheap to lay down, cheap to get big, and after he's fully leveled up, which takes some time, but not like a whole lot of time, he is really, really destructive. Very powerful effect. Hero of Oxid Ridge, another awesome attacker for a deck with creatures that like attacking. You know what this does. There's no reason to go into detail. Aeron the Relentless is a really cool aggressive card. Yeah, he's not that great, but really with all the artifact mana and stuff we saw earlier, it won't take very long to get into a point in the game where I can attack and regenerate him in the same turn. So it's not such a big deal. You know, 5 power, that's pretty serious. Haste. Koldatha Phoenix, another attacker with haste, and likes the fact that there are a bunch of artifacts in this deck. Getting multiple uses out of a card is sweet. always good. Darksteel Sentinel is one of the previously defensive cards that stayed in here just because he's so good. Because he's also such a really good attacker. Being indestructible and having vigilance and everything like that. And Flash is crazy. Just crazy. Worm Coil Engine. Great creature to have in any deck that can play him. That's why he's in here. Thopter Assembly. This is another card that ends up in pretty much every commander deck I make because big flyer, makes a bunch of flyers. Just all around useful. Especially in combat. If you're playing red, there's got to be something very specific going on to not play with Inferno Titan. Because he's wonderful, throwing out arc lightnings, having fire breathing and everything. Conquering Manticore is here because he's just awesome. You know, big red flyer, Ray of Command, or Threaten rather, since you're playing red. I still think of it as Ray of Command. Two-headed dragon, good blocker, very hard to block. Double fire breathing. Yeah, relatively cheap at 6. You know, dragons have this special discount, it seems, for their cost. I like that about them. Hamra is also another great guy to play in a red commander deck. And then when he flips over, everyone's a dragon, and that's cool. More dragon, more flying, more damage, more spot removal. Oh, I meant to put this guy in the spot removal pile. Oh, I messed up. Dang. Darksteel Gargoyle. Indestructible flyer. Kind of pricey. He is on the edge of what I would play in this deck, but still. 3/3 indestructible flying creature. Probably shouldn't cost too much less than 7. Okay. Hate Flare really likes to attack because it makes him tap. Then he can use his untap ability and either throw a bunch of damage at someone's head or a bunch of -1/-1 counters on someone's creature. And that's helpful. Oh, maybe I should have put him in the point removal pile. Oh! I messed this up. Hellkite Igniter. Awesome attacker. Has built-in haste. He's great. Loves the fact that there are a bunch of artifacts. Guys get big. Woo. Chroma Angel of Fury. Another awesome red attacking creature for everybody to love. And sometimes you can pay 3 and play her face down and then probably not get to flip her up again before she gets killed. But whatever. You got a creature. And the card in your hand wasn't dead. So that's cool. And at the top is the Pathrazer Volumog. If I can get up to the mana required to cast him, which isn't, you know, out of my ability, he's a very, very dangerous attacker. Very hard to block. Rips up stuff. Great. So, Fumiko the Lowblood. Attacking, sets falling down, dogs and cats living together. Awesome. Alright, again, I'm Mike from the Mana Pool. Check us out at themanapool.com. This was my Fumiko the Lowblood Commander deck. Remember to like and subscribe to CMDR decks. Tell your friends, email, fax machine, carrier pigeon. Y'all have a nice day.